Thanksgiving Day, November 24th, um, the North Park football team, before their state game, they always have an alumni breakfast. So the alumni get to eat. Then later on through the day, while the football players are practicing, right after they're done practicing, all the alumni, former alumni, some from 1969 all the way to my class, the most recent graduated class of 22, um, they will stand up and they will present their speech or present themselves, name, number in football, position they played, and what year they graduated. I went up and I presented um, my name, class, the position and number. Um, I did the bare minimum, but you know, when during this particular event, I remember being one of the players myself. Um, you know, I went to state 3 times myself. So we did this. I've done this 3 times, listening, and I will say, uh, the most memorable speeches are not the ones that are just, hey, I'm like, for example, I'm Isaac Chandler, class of 22, D line, and I was number 93 and then left. Nobody remembers that. What everyone remembers is I still remember this guy to this day from my sophomore year. This guy who was a football player slash band member went up one time to present his speech. And he did it. He did it again this year. I should clarify. He did it again this year. He went up. You know, he played his trumpet. Was getting everyone hyped. Like, let's go, let's go. Everyone was getting hyped with him, and he basically gave us his motivational speech. You know, no matter how tough it gets during the state game, no matter how hard it gets, please, whatever you guys do, just do not give up hope. Like, just do not lose the faith. Do not give up. And I gotta say, like, I remember that speech, and when he did it again, I was felt still fresh to me. Like, so, like, honestly, what I got from that experience was like, if you really want a memorable speech, something that people can go home with and remember for a very long time, um, I would say, you know, um, try to make your speech exciting. Like, just like, don't be basic. Don't be basic like how I was. Even though, honestly, those guys, they knew me, so you know. Um, but yeah, another speech I remembered was or that happened. Well, a bunch of guys did it. Was like, you know, if Coach Moore, the current football head coach who won state 3 times in a row now, they're like, you know, if I remember if I had Coach Moore, I'd win state every year, and you know, you always get a kick out of those speeches, and you know, because it's like, all right, sure, old man, but yeah, just like try to make your speech beyond the basic. It's basically what I got from that alumni breakfast experience for Center Grove High School, December 3rd, 2022. Um, Me, Terrence, Lambert, Steve, and originally AJ decided to come together, and we were all gonna do something. Now, AJ ended up bailing out on us last minute. He said he was broke, he had no money, All right, buddy, likely story, but he but we decided all that we would go to the Laugh Factory that night, and so we did. We booked our tickets. We went there, and boy, was it hilarious. I mean, flat out funny. Um, Now, a lot of those comedians were all of those comedians were hilarious in my opinion, but obviously, also in my opinion, some were just funnier than others. Um, I'd also remember uh, how all these guys like all these people interacted with the audience, and obviously I got called out because instead of clapping like this, I clapped like this, which is something I learned from football, and or something I've done in football because I would have one helmet in one hand and just do like this. Um, but yeah, the host ended up calling me out. Just get a laugh out of the crowd to end the show. But um, what I really remember was that they all interacted with the audience, and was one guy's particularly he ended up going bald recently, or recently then, and he decided, you know, he was like, I went bald thinking I was gonna, look like Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he was like, does anybody know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is? And I rose my hand. A bunch of people rose their hands too. Some people, there was a whole half of the audience that didn't raise their hand, and he was like, "What are y'all Undertaker fans?" Who also is another WWE wrestler, and everyone got a kick out of that as well. Um, but he ended up saying like, you know, I went out with this lady. I was thinking I was looking all cool, and then she goes, "You know who you remind me of? You remind me of Gru from Despicable Me." And and then he proceeds to, basically go, I wanted to look like, um, uh, I wanted to be this badass. Instead, I look like a kid-friendly, cartoonish character, which also reminds me that none of those comedians were afraid to, laugh at themselves, right? Like they use themselves as um, their own comedic um, jokes, um, s like, and that's really something I took. Those two things I really took away from that event. I mean, besides, of course, that they were all hilarious. Yeah, it was a great event. I would recommend this event to someone else. I would not recommend to anyone is December 16th. I believe I began at 4:50 p.m. There was a special event on Twitch. It had already began by the time I started watching. I think they were an hour and 30 minutes into it. Um, Called, or not, I guess not an event, but like uh, Twitch, Twitch channel that was streaming called Eternal Live TV, and basically it was like church, although in my opinion it was really weird. I mean, so the host was this African American woman uh, who talked uh, with a southern accent, and you know, was just like praise Jesus and all that. Everyone, like the southern preachers and pastors, use like typical southern church preachers, right? Um, and then she had this special guest who talked for the whole hour I watched, and I don't remember his name, but I remember he's from South Africa, and he claims himself to be a prophet of God, and I mean like G- Father of Jesus, God, like basically he's claiming that he's like the second Moses, and that he can communicate with God. I was like, what? And this dude, I mean, he got my attention for sure. He was screaming the whole time. Uh, he's screaming Bible verses. I don't even remember some of them. I remember one of them was Proverbs. He would scream out a name of a verse, then right after would just go, everyone knows that verse, and it's like, uh, okay, I guess. Something I took out of that was just, um, you gotta present yourself credible, because no way people are gonna believe that you're the prophet of God, like basically the second Moses. Um, Also, another thing I took was, you know, being loud doesn't always isn't always the best way of grabbing someone's attention. Like screaming about, oh, you need to praise Jesus, and oh, you need to do this and do that. Like you haven't really told me anything to like encourage me to do such. You just kind of screamed at me this whole time. And also, if you're gonna mention something, make sure that like when you mention it, that you actually talk about the thing and not just move on. Because like he was just throwing random things in there, and it's just weird to me. Um, yeah, I would not recommend this event again. But not least, let's talk about this class. Me personally, I'm gonna be honest. The first half, I I like could not stand going to class anymore. Like, and it's not uh your fault, Nikki. It was really mine because I wasn't willing to be open to people at first. I was, you know, I just wanted to show myself. They don't really want the world to know Isaac Chandler. They don't want people to know Isaac Chandler in the class. But honestly, I think it was during the acceptance speech. I've decided mentally, like, you know what? Just, just do something wild, man. Like, cause like at that point I was like, I don't want to go to. I really hope you don't do this or do that in class. And I just decided, you know, that week, like, yeah, like, like, let's do something, like, I don't know. I was just feeling good that day, and I was like, let's just do something, uh, just ridiculous, overly ridiculous. And that's when, I started dapping people up in the room, whatnot. And then, I started looking around, and people were actually enjoying my speech. Like, I was shocked. Like, people actually enjoyed listening. And, I was like, damn. Well, maybe if I'm this enthusiastic about a fake acceptance speech, like, maybe I should be this enthusiastic more often. And so I tried every other speech to bring the same enthusiasm and same I guess passion that I had in that speech into all my other ones. honestly, like you kept saying, you know, you're doing better each speech, better each speech, and I was just like, hell, if it's working, why stop? And that's something I think I'm gonna take with me, um, into the real world. Like, you know, don't be afraid to open up. Don't be afraid to actually be passionate about what you're talking about, because you know, when I was afraid, I was just, no one really cared because I didn't really care. But once I did start caring and cared more about the class itself, I actually found it to be enjoyable for not just for me, but everyone else found my speeches more enjoyable. And like, you know, maybe I should, and a thought ran into my head, maybe I should just try to make my speeches more enjoyable, more open, more enthusiastic. And so, thank you for helping me this semester. Thank you for like really helping me to open up to people. Just thank you.